Hello, welcome to another landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today has maybe it's the temporary title of Beach Number 3. We'll see. Um, I've been practicing, you might hear my little puppy bark. He's playing in the back there. And I can't keep pausing the video for it. Anyway, yeah, so maybe you saw the last one I did on the channel. That was 14 by 28, quite a bit larger. But this is still decent size for me, pretty big, and really enjoyed doing it, putting it together. I'm trying to get some more mastery on these types of scenes, and they're the type of scenes that do well. At least I hope they'll do well for me. I know I've seen other people do well with this. Mostly, like, I've seen a lot of people do photography of this sort of thing. I'm doing paintings, and several things that I am working on mastering here is the tonality of the water. Now, maybe you noticed at the beginning I'm not calling this a tonalist landscape. I don't really feel it is. There is tonal harmony running through it. And I would still define myself as a tonalist painter, but this is not really a tonal approach, and it's more of a chromatic approach. It's not what I would call impressionism either. It's not photorealism. It's a bit synthetic, but one of the main things that really makes tonalism tonal is the synesthetic nature of it. Yeah, but since this is no tonal painting, we won't spend much time. The sky, I have like these morning colors, and that's somewhat maybe reflected in the landscape itself. I do feel it's fairly well integrated, but one thing I kind of like about the ocean scenes is that you don't have to reflect what's going on in the sky and the water as you do, say, with a pond or even a river as much, unless it's a very fast-flowing river. Now what I'm doing right there in the painting is I decided to push it really brighter, and that's going to force me in other ways to brighten the palette a bit, which is something that after all these years of working very tonally, it's just ingrained in me to stay away from that lighter color. But that's going to be also, I didn't want it to be, the sky to be lonely and dark with the waves bright and popping, which we'll get to. Also, I should mention there's going to be a few missing bits towards the end of the video. Nothing earth-shattering. I was having problems with the card in my camera. Thank God it was the card and not the camera, because the camera's, you know, fairly expensive bit of gear. So in the reference, everything in the water was a lot more muted, a bit muddy, and this is because some of the tonal things I'd done to the reference photo, but I had my own ideas about what I wanted to do there, and that was like sort of a gradation from a more bluey aqua tone to a more greenish, and then you'll see at the end of the video how I start kind of pumping in some yellowy greens into there, and I think it worked quite good. I'm very much experimenting at this point with painting the ocean, painting waves, and it's quite fun. Yeah. The other thing is, like, if you see this sort of hill shape, the darker shape in the it's kind of off the center on our left. That was very massively dominating in the reference photo, and I made actual steps to diminish its size, but it's actually one of the strongest, darkest things in the landscape. But and that gets to maybe a little bit of some lessons for you. It's like, if you're working with a photo reference, you've really got to look at things with a critical eye. Like, after the many years of painting I've done and the experiences I've garnered, I could tell it would be a problem, be an issue. It would be something that would be a distraction. So I minimized its impact. Now, there's another little thing I wanted to bring up, a concept that I was thinking about as I was working on this. Well, these take a lot more time, so you'll see they're in the store for a bit more money, but it's still pretty reasonable, I think. Anyway, okay, you're a painter, right? And maybe you're just starting out. You know, you're trying to figure things. There's a lot to figure out. The composition, what to use in the photo, or if you're a plein air painter, what to paint in nature, so on and so forth. But maybe one part of the process that you hadn't really been that cognizant of, although you're certainly implementing it, is this abstraction. This is a real thing, and everybody, like, if you look back at the drawing portion of this video, you will see my underpainting / drawing, and there's quite a degree of abstraction there that you would see from the photo. By the way, in the members area, you can see the photo reference. You can see me mixing at least my initial color mixes, and there's no ads, and it's 4K, and it's about 5.5 hours long. This video would have been even longer, except for some of the missing bits where I was struggling with my SD card. Anyway, you know what? Before I get right back into this concept, there's going to be an ad coming from my book. I recommend that you check out my book if you like the sort of things I do. Everything that I've taught up to this point is pretty much in that book. And here comes the ad. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you want to paint tonally? Do you want to paint better? Tired of trying to find the info that you need? There are hundreds of videos on this channel. You could watch for days and not find the info you need until now. Introducing my new book, Landscape Painting the Tonalist Way. Everything you want to know in one place. Order your copy today. Landscape Painting the Tonalist Way. Just click the link below or visit this video to visit landscapepainter.co.nz. There's a navigation bit at the top of the video. It's in the store. I'm keeping it up there. We are into a second printing of another 50. Sold enough to justify doing that, and thank you very much for that support. And it's important to me because it costs so much to do these short print runs. I didn't have enough dosh to do 100, in which case I probably would make an extra $2 or $3 a book, you know, but it's all good. I'm not making very much on this, but it's getting out in the world, and that's what's important to me. You know, everything in this internet seems very temporary and ephemeral. A book, you know, is a book, and a book will last. So check it out. Go ahead and order it. Anyway, getting back to this concept of abstraction, you should not only be aware of the abstract qualities of your work, but you personally have an approach to abstraction, and you need to embrace that. You need to embrace it wholeheartedly. Don't let this perfectionist slant where you're trying to be some sort of photorealist or photocopyist take over your work. You don't need that. You don't want it, okay? What you want is a synthesis between your internal approach and vision and you know, some stimulating photographic you know, reference, right? And it needs to stay just that, just reference. So you're going to have an impetus that comes from that photo, and you're going to put down some shapes. You know, instead of like going over it and going over it and going over it and trying to perfect it, stick with that. And the sorts of things that you try to perfect in your painting, I would say, would be, you're looking for odd things in the composition, looking for how the eye is flowing through the painting. There's always ways to improve your color. There's so many. It's infinite. I can't cover it all here. By the way, there's another concept I wanted to talk about, especially for those, a lot of the people usually bail. Well, not usually, but some people, they're looking for certain information. If they don't get it, they're moving on. And hey, I'm not knocking it. That might be me too. But here's another concept. You know, there's two distinct approaches to painting. There's the impulse, and this is not contradicting the other thing I just said. They work together. There's this initial expressive, impulsive, loose approach, and that's well and good. Then there's approach that's more considered. You could, if you want to get negative, say contrived, but I like the word considered, thought out, you know, where you are utilizing a mastery that you've developed and attained of your brush, of your approach to color, of your awareness of composition and the inherent traps that are always present in landscape composition. And this is a more cultivated approach, and this is actually, this painting I'm doing here is a real representation of that. I am, you know, like there was maybe 100 more little dark trees. You see the trees over in the on our left side. I simplified it to about 10, 15, you know. I simplified everything here, even though a lot of people will look at this and go, oh my god, it's so incredibly detailed. It's the impression or illusion of detail that's created through color, brush handling, and the composition. So that is what I've been developing over the last few years. I also work on my loose expressive approach, but I don't particularly want to create paintings that are leaning too heavily on that, because that can be a real trap, and what it means is the scope of your work becomes quite narrow. And you know, it can be done, it can be pulled off. I don't see it consistently pulled off that well for that long by that many, but I do utilize it, and where I utilize it is in my underpainting, and that's where I'm loose and expressive. And even there's more like micro looseness, I guess I would say, in the and less so, say, in this painting than you might see in some of my other more tonalist works. But tonalism in general is a more loose and synthetic approach than what I'm exhibiting here. But all that's been formed here, so you know, the knowing how your brush is going to work, what brush is going to put down what sort of stroke. These things, of course, are all going to be informed by experience. By the way, this little red brush I'm using is one of my favorites. It's a Zero. The brand is escaping me, but it's a longer, flat bristle brush. I personally don't get much from the little stubbier ones, you know. So this is some of the section. We're missing some of the wave stuff. I was struggling with the card. Like, I'd hit record and then it would just not record. It just stopped. I thought it was maybe the camera, but one thing I did use in the waves was I leaned more into lead white, and if you see the actual painting, and it probably shows up in the 4K on the members area, you can see there's a bit more of a heavy approach there. You can get this sort of ropey effect with the lead white that's really lovely, and also the lead white is a lot more giving. It doesn't just lay there and stay as opaque, say, as the titanium. I did work in some bits of titanium as well, just to get a little extra pop. One of the things I focus on too is, you see there's that dark bit of purpley beach right up against the waves. And I kept saying, am I going too far with this darkness? But I really wanted to... I saw it, and to me it's like a mirror of the mountains, the purpley mountains in the back. Anyway, we're getting close to the end of this video, and I've slowed it right down for you here, so this is just kind of compensate for missing out on some of that wave painting action. That was the coup de grace. That was the important bit that for me really makes the painting, and that's one of the things I'm practicing, trying to get better at, you know. It's a subtle thing to paint as a wave, almost from any angle. It's subtle, and I think I did a pretty good job. Let me know what you think, and I really appreciate you taking the time. People that get to the ends of the videos, it really helps the channel, apparently, and yeah, I appreciate you. Anyway, until I come back with another video, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble, and God bless you and your family.